All right. It looks like we are live now here on Facebook. Hanna, I am so excited to have you here today and for you to share your story and tell people a little bit about what you do and why you're passionate about it. So welcome and thank you again for taking the time. And I'm just going to ask you to kind of just start it off and tell who you are, what you do, how you came to be in this career, and then we'll go from there.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Kristina. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to everybody out there about something that I feel so passionately about. So yeah, I'm a registered nutritionist. I'm a certified holistic cancer practitioner. And how I came to be in this role was that it actually just ended up choosing me when I went through cancer myself when I was 20 years old. Wow. So, you know, you do your thing. You know, I was a registered dental hygienist at the time. I went through that whole experience with the disease. And the whole time I just started doing the research on how I can support my body through chemotherapy, during radiation. And, you know, being 20 years old, all I wanted was not to lose my hair from chemo.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
So I did all this crazy research and I realized that, you know, nutritional therapy is just so powerful and, you know, protecting your healthy cells while being toxic to cancer cells. So I ended up doing many different alternative therapies, like going to Peru, doing herbs, a lot of spiritual work, but also a lot of nutritional therapy. So I ended up not losing my hair, which was a blessing. Like it was, I think it was maybe a miracle, actually.
Honestly, as someone who was a hairstylist for years, and there would be people that would come in to have their head shaved before they went through chemotherapy, and going through that emotion, like women don't understand their identity is tied to their hair. And when you have to lose that, it takes a piece of you. And there was moments that I'd be shaving their head, we'd both be bawling our eyes out. So I understand how that is really important for a lot of people.
Yes, exactly. And that's the recommendation they give, right? Is just see your hairdresser and do it so it's not such a shock. And I ended up just, I ended up just crying on a daily basis. But going back to nutrition, I ended up basically going through chemotherapy. Like my oncologist was just in shock. Like, you know, my blood levels were close to normal. I was going to the gym every single day. My immune system was quite strong. I recovered quite well. I'd never really vomited during chemo either. I didn't have that experience. So I just was really, really lucky to come across the research that I did. And so over time, I just ended up wanting to give my dental patients all my nutrition advice that were going through cancer. And, you know, your soul calls, right? And your heart calls. And it was this calling that I couldn't ignore anymore. And I just thought, okay, I have to get certified. I have to be credible in this and work with people going through this. And this is what I do now. I work with cancer patients and I work with survivors trying to help them prevent disease recurrence, because that's a whole other realm of the disease that people don't realize is just so important to work on as well. So yeah.
So and so I think I put it in the title, but you're a certified holistic nutritionist.
Yep.
You're certified. Can you go through the things the education that you've done?
Yeah. So registered dental hygienist was my number one thing.
Yeah.
I did that for a decade. Then I became a registered holistic nutritionist. Then I became certified in holistic cancer practice. I'm just about finished my bachelor in health science. And that's about it for now. And I'm also the nutrition operations manager at Choices Market.
Wow, that's wonderful. Like, it's amazing that you took your experience and shifted it into that, you know, and shifted it into a career that you're so passionate about. And I wish that more people did that. So congratulations. I would love to hear a little bit about your findings and what it was that shifted, you know, how people, because I believe that everything that you eat either fuels your health or fuels your sickness. So I would love to hear a little bit more about what you talk to people about that are going through cancer.
Yeah, I always say that to people. I say every bite you take is either fighting your disease or fueling it. And you're exactly right. You are what you eat. With cancer, it's actually really interesting. 40% of all cancer cases are directly linked to what we eat.
40%.
40%, when you put your dietary habits with your lifestyle habits, like your exercise and whether or not you smoke or drink a lot of alcohol, you know, whether or not you're exposed to toxins in the environment, that percentage is between 70 to 90%. And that's in like medical literature. 90%, up to 90% of all cancer cases are directly linked to our lifestyle. So that's a very, very staggering fact, but it's also really, really empowering because we have so much control over this disease. We really, really do. And we tend to have this fatalistic attitude towards cancer, like, oh, I'll be aging, you know, I'll probably get cancer, right? But the reality is that you can prevent this to such an extreme degree. And so the food that we eat really is the main tool that we have, something that we do, you know, 3 to 6 times a day, right? And so in terms of like cancer, the main thing we really want to look at is whether or not we're eating food that has specific bioactive substances that are actually toxic to cancer cells.
Okay, so would you have like a list of those, or your top 5 things that you would avoid and top 5 things that you would eat?
Definitely.
Or 10 or 20?
Yeah, there's so many, you know, anti-cancer foods and foods that are pro in terms of promoting cancer. But the main thing we really want to look at, what science has shown, is that diets that are primarily plant-based and high in phytochemicals and fiber and antioxidants and, you know, prebiotics, probiotics, those are the diets that have been linked to lower rates of cancer across the world. So whether or not we're vegetarian or vegan or keto or paleo, we want to get the majority of our calories from the plant foods because those are the only ones that contain the phytochemicals, the plant chemicals, right? And those chemicals actually act on cancer cells in a variety of different ways. They promote cell suicide. So they actually cause the cancer cell to burst on itself. They also prevent cancer cells from spreading into other tissues, and they enhance our immune system. So they work in a variety of different ways to really, really help us reduce the risk of the disease. And if we have it, to fight it in a more powerful way. And if we get through it, to prevent recurrence, which is also another thing that happens really, really often. Yeah. So in a nutshell, focus on your plant foods. The main things, I think, the main foods that have been proven scientifically to kill cancer cells are cruciferous vegetables. So like cauliflower, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, arugula, right? Turmeric, we all hear about turmeric.
Does it change when you cook?
Yeah, these phytochemicals do change when you cook them, but the key is to get them in whatever form you prefer them in. Like no matter what you do, just make sure that you are intaking those foods, no matter what. But yeah, I teach workshops for cancer patients, and these conversations can last hours on end. Like which foods to eat raw, which to eat cooked, and how long. And so with cruciferous vegetables, actually the compounds that are cancer fighting, they are most active when the vegetables are steamed lightly. So that's a little tip. Turmeric powder is basically, the best way to get that is through the actual spice that you can buy at the grocery store. And it has all the different bioactive compounds in that turmeric, rather than buying a capsule with isolated curcumin that we always hear about. The other top cancer fighting food that I always teach about is garlic. Garlic is awesome. really, right? And so with garlic, the main thing is to crush it and then mince it so that the chemicals actually form. Otherwise, we're not actually getting any benefit.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, there's so many, like blueberries, right? Green tea, chocolate is an anti-cancer food, like dark chocolate, for example. All the allium vegetables, so the onions, the leeks, the shallots, the list goes on and on and on, but they're all plant foods.
I love that. And so just look for things that are high in antioxidants, or like just really great green veggies, basically.
Yeah, leafy greens, brightly colored, exactly.
And now, what would you say to avoid if you want to avoid things? What would you avoid?
I mean, I avoid animal products for a variety of reasons. Cancer being my primary reason. Doing the research that I've done for that. I also avoid refined carbohydrates. I mean, not always, not all the time. We all go out for Italian dinners and things. We have white bread, right? It happens. I also like, refined sugar, trans fats, vegetable oils, all the things are pro-inflammatory. So, processed foods, right? Essentially. Alcohol. Yeah. Alcohol is also another one that is very, very difficult for us to, avoid at all times, but it's another food that has now been shown to not be safe in any level, especially for cancer. So wow. That's another thing that I would definitely urge to avoid.
I think that people also think, or they don't take into consideration how terrible sugar is, and sugar will literally feed cancer and make it grow faster, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's actually really interesting because sugar, if you look at the actual like medical literature, there's no direct link between sugar and cancer, but we know that sugar promotes insulin release and insulin-like growth factor, which in turn promote growth of cells and growth of cancer cells. So sugar is, yeah, definitely avoid the sugar if you can.
And we talked a little bit before this video and said, there's not a one size fits all for everyone. I know that a lot of people are paying attention to the keto diet right now because of its benefits when people are going through cancer. A plant-based, of course, is something that people have known for a long time that they should do. It's something that I really believe that you have to know your body. You have to, our genes, our genetics, they all contribute. So you've really got to kind of tweak it with a fine-tooth comb to figure out what's going to work specifically for you.
100%. You know your own body better than anybody else. And as long as you are really focusing on, and you can get a lot of fiber on the keto diet too, right? Like you can get tons of fiber on keto diet. You can get a lot of plant foods on the keto diet as well. You can even do plant-based keto, right? So all these diets are definitely moldable to your individual preferences, and also in a way that you can really, really have that high intake of vegetables and fruits and things that do, prevent disease on the inside with the phytochemicals and the fiber and the antioxidants.
Right. And so are you still a dental hygienist, or are you doing this full time now?
I'm doing this full time now. So this is my life. And I'm also the nutrition operations manager at Choices, which is also another, aspect of my work day. So I kind of do both now. I'm in two realms now. The corporate I love and the clinical. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of balance. I have a lot of balance. So that's really, really nice to have in my life right now.
It's just really powerful to me that you did all of this and went through chemotherapy and still maintained energy, your hair, feeling decent. I'm sure it wasn't awesome, but like feeling decent, but just by shifting your diet. And I wish that people understood the power of what you eat really does matter. It can change everything, right?
It really can. And in terms of prevention, we know that science is really, really strong. The other aspect though of dietary habits is during chemotherapy. So patients who are actually going through this treatment, it doesn't make you feel good, right? It destroys your body, right? And it's toxic, right? That's the whole definition of chemotherapy. It's a toxic therapy. And so when you focus on nutrition during chemotherapy, you tend to not only feel better and have more energy, but your body is actually you're actually able to enhance the effectiveness of the chemo or the radiation. So actually can become more effective, which is great, and reduce the side effects of those treatments. So again, protecting those healthy cells that you have.
And now you also briefly touched on going to Peru and doing some plant-based medicine there. So what was it that drew you to Peru to do that?
Yeah, so life is really funny. My mom was reading a book at the time by one of the founders of this institute, this phytochemical institute in Peru called IPIFA. And so she's reading this book. All of a sudden, I get diagnosed. And, you know, there's like thousands of cases of people who have gone to this institute, which is actually run by oncologists and herbalists together,
Cool.
you know, which is like the perfect, you know, world, right? And so we flew to Peru like the next week, and we just said, okay, let's just go. And it ended up being like the most beautiful spiritual experience. And I was coached on nutrition by oncologists. And, you know, they kind of gave me the rundown on why this is so important. And I went home with, you know, like a suitcase of actual herbs that I then boiled at home 6 times a day, like bark and leaves and things. And it tasted like, you know, bile, right?
Yeah, like dirt.
It was really potent stuff. Yeah, it was horrible. It was so horrible. I had to force myself to do that while I was also juicing, you know, cabbage and garlic and all these other amazing things. So, but it ended up being really effective. So I'm really grateful. And before I even started my chemotherapy, my tumor, which was actually visible, it was on my neck. My tumor actually decreased by 40% before I even started the chemo, just from the herbs. So the herbs were actually, because that's where medicine comes from anyway, right? Is plants. So my oncologist in Vancouver was shocked. But it was just what happened, and it was just beautiful, and I just felt so lucky. So
wow. Well, and now you give that gift to other people. You help other people through that. So if people want to contact you, if they have family members that are sick, if they want a consultation, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I can definitely help. I can definitely, you know, be contacted through my website, backtobalancednutrition.com. There, just go to contact me, and my email is right there. And I do take consultations right now for people with an active diagnosis, as well as those just wanting to prevent disease recurrence.
Awesome. And there are so many of us that have it in our families, right? It's hereditary. And there are things that you could be doing now to prevent that from happening to you down the road.
That's right. And, you know, in terms of it being hereditary, about they've established now that 5 to 10% of cancers are genetically linked, right? The rest is what you're doing, lifestyle, diet, you know, exercise. So yeah. There's a genetic link to cancer for sure. It's just a lot smaller than we ever imagine and what most people actually think. Like I had no idea, right? I had no clue that this was so much, you know, grounded in what I'm doing myself. And so, yes, definitely, this is something super, super important. And I just want to raise awareness of, you know, like take control of your life, like start preventing it now. And while you're preventing it, you're probably treating it, because cancer takes 10 to 40 years to develop in the first place. Wow. So yeah, you and I probably have cancer cells right now in our bodies that are proliferating. And what we're doing on the daily basis is actually preventing those cells from growing, either promoting or preventing. So that's another thing that's been established in research too, is that dietary habits are either promoting or preventing the growth. And so while you're preventing, you're probably also treating.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. You know, you just made me like want to run and grab my probiotic and like be way more consistent about taking that and the antioxidants. And I'm like, oh my God. So I really appreciate you taking the time, Hanna. I hope this isn't the last time that we get to talk, because I'd love to have you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. And this is just such an important vehicle that you're providing for us, for the public. Just sharing information from different aspects of different people's lives. And that's really, really beautiful. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I love collaborating with strong women who have a big message and can help a lot of people. So I'm glad that we met. The power of social media. Thank you so much. You have a great night, girl, and we'll talk to you soon.
Kristina. You too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, love.
Bye.